Hello and welcome to episode 17 of DataCube's free online BI training. Today is still on the Google Data Studio topic. We're going to be talking about chart selection and capabilities in Google Data Studio. So we're going to be concentrating on sort of what I would call the standard visuals. Next week in episode 18 we're going to be speaking about the custom or sort of third-party visuals that you can use in Data Studio. We are back in Google Data Studio, and if you followed this series from the start then you might already recognize this data set. We're back on the grocery shop, so this is some fictitious grocery shop data that I've been using and I used in the Power BI series, the first 12 episodes. So in this one we're going to be exploring these standard visuals. So first up, what you need to do is go into Data Studio, open a report or make a new one and connect some data. So just show you this data briefly. So you can find that by clicking on your visual and clicking on this edit data source or on this file here. So in here it's really short, small data set, and we've just got these 5 fields for actuals and the 5th one added on by Data Studio itself. You can see here default aggregation auto on that. So we've got a date, and this is actually the first week of the year of 2020 worth of data. Product. So what products do we have in our grocery shop, how many sales have we made, and the value of those. And you'll notice here date is year, month, day. However, in my visuals you'll see here that it's got sort of American date, so this was supposed to be the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th of January, but it's done that across the months instead. So something to bear in mind when you're using your data sets, to make sure it's on the right date field that you have in your data. So that can be changed, but something to bear in mind. The other thing you'll notice in there possibly was that you can turn on and off these community visualization access. But we're going to be speaking about those visuals a bit more next week, those sort of custom or third-party visuals. So I clicked on this. Now this has taken me sort of 5 minutes to throw together this, what you could call a dashboard, and this uses pretty much all the standard visuals. So how do I set up standard visuals? So up here on the toolbar I can add a chart, and straight away we've got all of the standard visuals that you can use in Data Studio. So there's about 20 here, maybe 25 that you can use. I haven't gone down the mapping front yet, we'll speak about those later on. So there's 3 types of tables, and you can always toggle between different charts by once you've already made one. So you can click on this table, click on the chart, and you have all our visuals here. So if I wanted to change a different type of table, you can just click it and it will automatically do that for you. So along the top, these 3 here are the different types of tables. So one is just simple, numeric output for my sales field here. This one uses data bars, and this uses a combination of the 2. Not data bars, but more for sort of heat map. So it's actually called table heat map. Now, in the Data Studio, when you're working, you'll be in the edit view, and you can click up here on the top right to go to that view, and you'll notice that these are multi sort of optional in how you work with them. So you can either use the toggle, or you can sort of scroll, and you can set that up in the layout. So these are 3, they're both useful in different ways, depending on what you're trying to get over to whoever's looking at your dashboard. Move on, you'll also notice that it's all dark. So I've actually selected a theme. This is one of the generic themes. So when you click off so if you've selected a visual, if you click off that, you get the sort of main visualization pane here, And these are all different themes that you can choose as presets or extracting from an image at the bottom there. So the default will look like this. So if you've opened it up, it'll probably look more like this on this grid, which is useful for lining things up. But I do find the sort of snap feature pretty useful in here. Takes you, puts your visuals in the right place. Or you can create a custom one at the top. So this one was this constellation theme. It's just sort of dark mode, but with a nice blue as your primary color usage. So underneath that, we've got some cards. This is a scorecard. There's two different types: scorecard and scorecard with compact numbers. So it just aggregates those numbers up for you straight away. Obviously, these are really useful. Normally, you'd have them quite small, and in a particular area that you need that. So, for example, you might have it on there, but need that to be in front. So we'll change all of that and send that backward. Obviously, that would need some formatting, but yeah, they're really useful, those scorecards. So it's great that it's got that feature, and it's quite nice that it's got that one where you don't have to go into the settings to change what it looks like. You can just toggle if you wanted full number or aggregated up, not aggregated, but with decimal places, and that customized with thousands. And of course, we've got bar charts. There are a few different bar charts. This one's just called the bar. So here I've got my products and sales value, total sales value. If I wanted to get that in a bit more detail, we can obviously use a stat bar chart. So here I'm using my date function along the bottom in the dimension over here. I'm splitting these down by the different products to see how the total sales value or sales quantity, actually in this one, sales volume, is broken down by all the different products, or how they all add up to make the total. We can do that as a proportion using a 100% stack chart, and there's also, I'll show you on this one, what they call a bar chart instead of just a column chart. So obviously that's a horizontal axis version, which is great for when you've got names. So we can make this a bit bigger. Now you can actually read everything, whereas in the column chart you're turning your head there, which you want to try not do. And that's something in one of the early episodes we spoke about in sort of basic chart design, head turning. We do also have a donut chart, which is nice. Some BI tools don't, and you have to sort of customize a pie chart or put a circle over the top, or try and build a pie within a pie. So it's good that they've got that as a standard. I think they're always aesthetically a bit more pleasing than pies, and some donuts have the function of having multiple pies within pies, which is super useful. This one seems a bit more basic. This chart here is the combo chart. There's also a stack combo chart, so a similar principle to the two charts above here. Between the stacked and the normal bar, these two over here. But it allows us to put that extra dimension on, or the extra metric. So instead of just looking at volume of sales, we've also got value of sales here. We've got a basic line chart, which obviously needs no introduction. There's a more curved one there, so it just rounds off the corners of the sharps of the point of each data point. We have got area charts and stacked area chart, 100% stacked area charts, and a basic one, which are useful. So this first one builds up one on top of the other, a bit like a bar. And then there's the normal area chart, which allows the lines to overlap or crossover, a bit like a ribbon chart. Next up is the scatter chart. Here we have split and looked at the correlation between sales volume and sales value. Pretty linear correlation for all of these. And what I think is super useful are these pivot tables. So I've selected the third one. This is a bit like a pivot table in Excel, or if you can write that in SQL, You can have standard ones, just bars, standard pivot table. You can have just the bars and like a heat map, so similar to the 3 different table combinations that we have at the top. You don't have a scroll bar yet because we're in that sort of edit. And finally, we've got the tree map. There's also a bullet chart there as well, which I think people will use less. The thing that you might find peculiar when you're working is that you can't really scroll, or so like on this pivot table, you can't scroll across sideways in the edit space, and you have to wait until you actually hit view. So up here, before you can then go down, and this is how you'd share it. But it's quite nice just to make sure all your column widths are the right width, for example, on these. When you're editing, I think that's probably one of the lesser good functions here. And you also can obviously use the hover, so aubergine sales 1159.27. I think it'd be quite nice if this was in the edit space as well. But this is a good little run through of the main visuals I think people will be using Google this year. They're super quick and easy. This honestly took me 10 minutes to spin up this. I think, yeah, as I said before, Google Data Studio, I think for basic and 90% of analysis most people do, I think this is an exceptional tool, and how speedy and I think like half decent it looks, considering I haven't done any formatting here at all. I think with these stat bars, it would be nice if the legend had a bit of a tidy up. I quite like the legend on this donut over here. It's quite cool how it splays out the colours there when you hover over. But these just little circles, I think those sort of rectangle boxes are old school. Yeah, that's a good run through. What we're going to talk about next week is the button next to add a chart, so these community visualizations. So they have 4 featured ones, but also if you have a little expand of this and a scroll, you'll see there's a few more. So another sort of 20 visuals, 30 visuals for us to have a look at that. So we'll speak about those next week. Hope you found that useful. Thank you very much for tuning in as per usual. See you next week for those custom visual charts.